Could be us.
Alrighty, let's get rolling. Welcome to Houston Recovery Radio, guys. We're a podcast and a platform that talks about recovery. There's a gazillion different ways to do it too. There's no one way about it. There are some pretty common paths, but and we all share it. And but it is a very individual process, and you can recover from a hopeless state of mind and body if you dedicate yourself to it and you come to some acceptance. And we're going to give you some more stories tonight of experience, strength, and hope. We have Obadiah Pendleton with us, and we're gonna hear his story. But let me pay the bills real quick here. Do you want to read it, Omar? Go for it, man.
We'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Transformation Enzymes, who has been kind enough to let us use the space we are in to host for Houston Recovery Radio. Transformation Enzymes is an integrative, holistic health wellness company that specializes in enzyme therapy. Detoxing from drugs and alcohol is physically and emotionally taxing on your body. Transformation Enzymes has been clinically proven line of probiotics and digestive elements that help left and right, that help heal the process the body needs from all the damage caused by addiction and alcoholism. For more information, visit their website at transformationenzymes.com. That is TRANSFORMATIONEZYMES.com. The guy didn't do it phonetically.
You know why he did that? You know why I wanted to read that? Because he wanted to make sure his coffee was well caffeinated enough.
Yeah.
He's like checking his caffeination levels there.
Is it good?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, how you doing, man?
Well, I'm first time I'm telling my story in a long time, so a little nervous.
Well, hey, we're nervous too. So yeah, we're right in the same boat with you. But yeah, man. Tell away. Start wherever you like, and we'll help you along the way. We'll ask some questions at the end, and hopefully our audience has some questions too. And yeah, man.
Okay.
So it's all you, dude.
Sounds good. I guess best way to do it, I guess, start from the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's generally good spot.
I was born. Grew up. No. So
Born or born?
Yeah. So I was the fourth child of 5. I had twin brothers and an older sister. And then there's like 5 years between us and them, and then I have a younger sister. And so I always found myself thirsting for attention. I was left out of a lot of stuff because I was too young to hang out with my twin brothers. They're twins, so they hung out with each other all the time, yeah. And was a little older and a boy, so I didn't really want to play with my sister. So it just made it kind of different. I wanted to be something different than what I was always, if that puts any light on kind of the scenario that I dealt with. But coming up as a kid, we had a normal, it seemed, family. 2-car family. We lived in a neighborhood that was shared. There were white neighbors that lived across the street, and we had some other neighbors. We had a nice house, birds, and
What part of the U.S.?
Houston.
Okay,
Lived
all
right
right
here in Houston. Sunnyside.
Nice.
Yeah, Sunnyside, but it was a while ago. And what happened was my dad left one day for work, and he came home different, totally different. I didn't know what happened or what had transpired, but he started drinking. So my whole life he'd never drank. He was always, really stern, kind of a soft-spoken, 1 or 2 words kind of guy, and he'll go in the room, and I just knew that he hit harder than my mother. So when she says, "Wait till your dad gets home,"
oh yeah,
I knew I was going. I was cringing because he hit hard. He had big, rough hands, and he didn't hit you many times, but those times that he popped you were effective. That's made me not want to have to deal with that.
Mine was a leather belt, man. I was like, you're gonna get the leather belt. I'm like, fuck.
We got a little more than leather.
Leather hand.
It was like
Anyway.
They would call it child abuse.
Yeah, there are a few scenarios I can remember getting my ass beat that it could have been borderline child abuse.
Yeah, man. And so it was the King, what is it, Earl cigar boxes.
Oh, yeah.
Under the couch. And, you know, it went from just nice house to that kind of a situation with beads through the house and then this fog in the house all the time. And then, you know, we have these really militant looking guys. What I didn't know at the time, but my dad was a Black Panther.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we had
That's
African
cool.
art and stuff everywhere, and they would smoke these big old joints. And I just remember sitting in there looking at and listening to them talk or whatever. And they would let me stay in the room. And I think I was my first experience with a contact high, and that kind of started the whole thing. But it allowed me to be accepted, and I enjoyed it. I mean, one of my earliest thoughts. I guess to move on, that lasted probably a couple of years before we were getting kicked out of the house. We lost the cars. My daddy lost his job, and my mom, who had never worked in my life, had to take a job, and we moved to the projects. It was just across the track.
Where were the projects then?
Right across the track.
Oh, okay. All right.
We lived
Literally the wrong side of the track.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We lived like right over Holmes Road on the other side of the track, the hood, and it sounded like firecrackers all day long. But this was gunfire and all types of drugs, and it was a totally different type of lifestyle. We were going to magnet schools, and I was really good at. In fact, let me back up. I wasn't very good at school. They put me in special classes, and it was because they didn't grasp my attention there. And then went to
Me too.
went to magnet school, and I accelerated. I started to make A's, and they had these, programs where you play the violin, take gymnastics and dance and different arts. And
What was your thing?
A violin. I played the violin, and I was
My little brother's a violinist.
Really?
Yeah, he plays in an Irish punk band, Jake. Anyway, yeah, another
violin,
story. Yeah.
piano, and gymnastics. So I really excelled at gymnastics. I was good at gymnastics. We would have meets every year, and every year I'd win. You could only compete in 2 events. I would win gold in both events every time I competed. And so, as a part of my story, and the reason I brought this up is because it was this particular was which is my last year in elementary. We were going to the competition. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to win 2 golds again. Well, there were 2 guys who did, I guess it was a tumbling move on the mini tramp that I couldn't do, or I hadn't been trained to do. So I'm like, I'm not going to win if I don't do something better than what they're doing. I saw them throw their stuff. I'm like, I have to do something better than. And she says, my coach was like, just do what we've trained for. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to win both medals. So instead of me doing that, I knew that I could do a double at home. So I ran out my first pass, did the double. She was livid. She said, we didn't train for this. You can't do this. And so I wasn't able to do it. She made me do just a single flip. I got 3rd place, which was a bronze medal, and I did not even stand up to want to go get the medal. Now that's important because I found out later in life is because I didn't know how to lose. I thought that I had to win at everything, and I didn't know. I didn't learn the lesson of losing and to be, and how that whole process works out as far as understanding that it's healthy to be able to understand your limitations and then work hard to get better. It's just, it doesn't just come naturally. You just can't, be the best at everything without any effort or any work. Some people do that. But they turn out to be terrible people because of they have an attitude of everyone is subservient to them or whatever. Anyway, that was
ego.
Yeah.
There you go. It's God out. So no God, all them.
Yeah.
Narcissism a little bit.
Losing, learning.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I remember my first drink I took when I was probably about ate in the house with my dad. It was New Year's. Everybody got big cups. They were colorful cups. I remember that. And I had a little cup with the kids, and I took my shot of it, which I loved it. And I thought it burned going down, but I liked the way it made me feel. And I went back for another cup, and they wouldn't give me more. And I had that idea in my head: when I get big, I'm going to drink like they drink. And so my next experience with drinking, I remember, was in the summer with the friends, or my childhood friends where I grew up with, over the track. Went over the track, and they were skipping school. I don't know, some kind of reason or whatever. I was out of school that day, and they got money and bought 40 ounces. So 40-ounce beer, and it was the first time I've ever drank. I drank 40 ounce of beer, and I was running through walls. We tore up and demolished some house, right? And I remember feeling invincible, just like a mighty man. And I was like, okay, I think that I kind of like this. I'm digging this. And so fast forward many years, and I remember going through junior high school and not quite making it on the gymnastics team as into the advanced gymnastics. I was good. I got into drama. I did dance really well, but I didn't get because I loved gymnastics. I wanted to be in advanced gymnastics, and I wasn't, because I wasn't the best. And so I kind of took that hard. And so I didn't prepare well after junior high for high school. And so once I got to high school, it was at a regular high school, and it was Yates, where George went.
Their Lord, huh?
Yeah. And so, that's where I was zoned. And so, anyway, needless to say, that didn't work out good. It didn't have a magnet program. I found myself back in the whole not really paying attention in class deal. My grades started to suffer. Oh, they had an SOC program. I tried to get involved in that. But
what is SOC?
School of Communications.
Okay, all right.
So it was radio television.
Full circle right here.
And so I found myself getting a little off. Like, what happened? So I found myself not really interested in school, and more interested in hanging out with the guys in the hood at the house. And so I stopped going.
Fair to say you lost your sense of purpose then.
Lost my sense of purpose. Because nobody showed me any attention. What mattered most to me at that time was how you felt about me and how I looked to people. So
acceptance seeking.
I needed it.
Yep.
I needed to validate me. I'm not important if you don't think so, is how I thought. And so I went from that situation to really getting into drugs. My first experience with crack cocaine was probably about 16 years old, 15.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, some guy introduced me to it, and he was like a boxer or something, just got out of prison, and he wanted me to watch his back, and I was a big kid, while he went and smoked crack. I didn't do any drugs, so I would do that and make sure that the people didn't rob him while he was high, geeking and peeking out the window. And so he lived downstairs from me, and so I did that a few times with him, and then he would pay me $20. And I'm like, $20?
The babysit?
Yeah,
this
of
is,
course I do that. And so it was dangerous many times. I almost got shot by the drug dealers a couple times because they sold him too much drugs for a cheaper price and thought somebody stole the drugs. Anyway, crazy what I put myself in this type of position. Anyway, started doing drugs at 16. By the time I was 16 and a half, I was selling my mom's fine china and, pretty much worked myself out of living there.
You were into the recidivistic aspects of
Right.
your addiction.
Out of school, went to live with my aunt and uncle. They stayed with them for the summer, and they said, okay, there's hope for you, and we can get you, some different exposure. And now they lived in A-Leaf, and back in the day, that was not, something that I was familiar with.
Yeah.
The brothers lived here. That was a whole new thing for me. So, I just learned how to talk slang and street just learned how to be a thug, and now I'm going to take my thug talk to this white neighborhood, which I wasn't accepted there. So now I had to change my whole vernacular in order to be able to fit in with this new group of people who I needed acceptance from, and they did not accept me. They were like, dude, anyway. Yeah, and so I found myself just not really fitting in there, and when I could get out of school, I checked myself out. And so I became, pretty resourceful at convincing people that I was a good guy and that I could work hard to try to do stuff. So I worked. My aunt had a job as vice president of some temp agency, and I taught myself how to type on some paper and do the 10 key, and so I could get good jobs working through her. And I remember once I got a job working with this geophysical company, coding seismic data. I was 17 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was making more money than my mom and dad put together at that time, and I hadn't even turned 18 yet. And I got that job as a temporary job, and I just dressed nice, and they fired somebody, so it seemed like all the right circumstances. What I didn't realize is that God was there all along working in my life for my good to better my situation. And, he's been looking out for me for a long time. Babies and fools.
Yeah.
So went from having some good jobs, some good exposure, stuff working out for me, and I think the first time, and then my roommate intervened on me because I started to smoke crack again, right? So those little jobs just never really fit the bill, because as soon as I made enough money or a lot of money, I would go back to the hood, to the people who would not accept me, to try to say, hey, look at me, I'm doing well, now do you like me, kind of deal. And all they wanted was my stuff. So I'm the life of the party, getting everybody high, and we're all smoking. I bought me a new car, and within 6 months it was shot up. I rented it out to the dope man, and they took it back. So I was forced to go into rehab. The place that I went to wasn't like a rehab with AA. It was what do they call it? Behavioral modification program. Within 4 months, I had my head shaved 5 times.
Oh, shit.
I had some keys on my neck, which you had to hold the keys in order for me to talk. I had a big sign on my chest that said, "I'm a big baby, please help me," along with the pacifier. And I remember sitting in a chair like this with this dunce hat on my head, big sign and these keys, and the people were walking in the middle of the cafeteria, and they were walking in to have dinner, and they were looking at me like, damn, bald head, my head shaved.
It's like psychological torture.
Yeah, that's straight psyops right there.
Yeah.
And so I just started crying, and they were like, and you couldn't show any emotions, and so they pulled me and said, listen, what you were just doing, that crying, you don't need to be doing that. I was broken, dude. I was it. I couldn't take that crap anymore. So anyway, I left. I ended up getting out of that program. And so the whole premise for that program was to tear you down and build you back up. I never got to the build you back up part.
You didn't.
That was just...
I can't imagine anybody making it through. There's only like a certain type of personality that would make it through that.
It was rough.
In 101. It's like
it was really rough. So I went from that that was my first experience with rehab. And then I never could get it together with, how it is we're an addict. It was just untreated alcoholism from that point on. I watched my father go from a regular guy to moving in the hood to be one of the kids to being the wino on the corner. And I would go and try to save him and bring him home. And I remember one day him making angels in the sewer, which had overflowed, and the toilet paper was all on, and he's making snow angels as if he's flopping around, and kids are throwing rocks at him. And so, just horrible stuff. My memories. And so, demeaning as this guy who has been my hero my whole life, now I'm looking at what alcohol and drugs has done to his life. And so I remember saying to him, dude, I don't ever want to be like you. And he looked me in the eyes and he says, you'll be exactly like me. one of those heart-wrenching, I can't believe you would speak that into my life kind of ideas. And, it wasn't very far from the truth. In fact, in some senses, I became much worse than he was, or he had become. Anyway, second place I went to was no better. It was the rehab was in Fort Worth, and it was a work program. They ended up going to prison. The guys from there, you get paid $5 a week. You'd have to go work 7 days a week, and you'd work 5 days on a job where they would, get temporary companies to, like, you would wash trucks, do hot tar roof laying, whatever, and then on the weekends, after you worked all week 5 days, you'd have to wash cars.
What?
Yeah, they had a car wash. You never got a day off, and they gave you $5 in cash and a carton of cigarettes. That's it. Yeah.
And let me guess, you had to pay rent on top.
No, they paid for everything. That was it.
So basically, you were house slave labor.
That's your day labor.
That's why
That's what labor for. Yeah.
That's why they went to jail, for slave labor.
Fuck yeah, they need to go to jail. Yeah.
And that was just a horrible experience, I remember. But it never taught me anything about the program. So when I got back to Houston, I remember, needing to go to treatment. I went to a place called HCPC, which is Harris County Psychiatric Hospital. It was the only place that you could go, and you'd have to be dual diagnosed by that time. Everybody was, crack epidemic was out, and that's the only place you could really go to get some help. And so I remember going there and then going to a place called Houston Aftercare. Now, is that where I went? I get kind of the stories mixed up. I know I went to.
That's okay. Take your time. Yeah.
Harris County HCPC first, and I think I may have gone to the Right Step twice. Yeah, I went to the Right Step twice, and they follow a program of recovery. So my life started to change. But I remember when I went to Houston Aftercare is when my life really changed. By this time, I had, by the time I went to Houston Aftercare, if I'm going to pull it up a little, I had met my wife, ex-wife now, at the time, and we were, trying to do well. I was working at Grocery Supply, and I went to the hospital, drove to the hospital, and I was like, well, have my wife come and get the car, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to run things from the nut house. Yeah. That's what essentially, it's a mental health problem house. And, my whole world changed immediately. So my dad says, well, she's gone, and I picked up the car. So you don't have a car. I gave you that car because you were married and with your child. And so now that you're not doing that and you have a drug problem, we're going to let you take care of that. So I didn't have no excuse to do anything different. And so I went to Houston Aftercare other than focus on my recovery. So I did the 30 days there. I went to Houston Aftercare. That was the first time I really started to learn about how to work the steps and apply the steps to my life.
Now, does this facility still exist?
No, it's no longer.
Okay. All right.
It's no longer there. I got a sponsor, a guy named Al Green. He's no longer alive, so I can talk about him. He was a white lawyer named Al Green.
Yeah, so you say not the singer.
No.
Yeah.
And I remember going into meetings, and I would sit and listen to people share, and then I would come back and I'd have to one-up him on how wonderful I would tell you about recovery. And he was like, man, that was really something. After I shared one day after a meeting, and he said, let me ask you something. How long you got now? I said, about 37, 40 days. He goes, wow. I really wish you'd do me a favor next time in the meeting. So he says, why don't you, can I say something?
Yeah, you can cuss. Shut the fuck up.
Why don't you shut the fuck up? Yeah. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? I thought I said some amazing stuff. He says, so essentially, you got 30-something days sober, and you're in a room of people who has 30-something days sober, trying to get them sober. But your best thinking got you here. So I need you to put a button on it. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen twice as much as you're supposed to talk. Shut up. I don't want to hear you talking for the next 30 days. And I'm going to take you through the steps and show you how this program works. And so he got me a big book. And I took the big book, and he says, now I want you to do this. I want you to open the big book, turn to the first page, and tell me what it says. And then I'm like, okay. And so I was telling him, and he would say, dude, that's not it. I want you to get the book, turn to the first page, tell me what it says. Anyway, it took like 3 days for me to get to the fact that there's nothing written on the first page. He says, that's what you know. Nothing. He says, so now I'm going to help you learn a new way to live and to take you through the steps. So anyway, that was the process for me originally when I first learned about this program. And I learned, I went through the doctor's opinion. I learned Bill's story and how it works, and then into action. I got into a vigorous course of action, doing the program, making sure that I did some work with my life. And the wife was leaving the country. She was going to take my son and move. I called IRS. Not IRS. I called the
CPS?
No.
INS.
INS.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, and like stop that. So they told her she was working in the country without a visa. I know it's a horrible thing to do, but I was desperate. I didn't want her to take
Lose
my
your son. Yeah.
So
I know. I understand that.
She ended up not leaving, and we got back together. So what ended up happening is she came to church. I flew down to Oklahoma where she was, brought her back with my son. St. John's, have you ever heard of St. John's?
No, I haven't.
St. John's downtown was a church for recovery, so the bus would take us to church every day. In church, they had a program which was like a daybreak program which fed the homeless and stuff like that. So I learned about God and developed a relationship with God that I never had before. I've been in church my whole life. My name is Obadiah, book from the Bible. My family, they're all named from the Bible, but I didn't have a personal relationship with God. I have no idea who he was and why he would want to have anything to do with me. And so there I found that connection and how I could be useful to people other than myself. There were people who were homeless, who had all different types of stories, and they had been through different things in their life. And on Saturdays we had fish watching programs. We got to feed the homeless on Sundays after church and so on and so forth. And the pastor would accepted me, my wife, and the whole situation. Wife isn't, she's Indian, so it was an interracial relationship, and so my kids were mixed, and not a lot of people accept. Her parents definitely didn't accept it. They disowned her for marrying a black guy. But what ended up happening, man, is I stayed sober, and I was doing well for several years. I think it was right about 3 years. And then I remember going to a friend's house, just passing by, feeling kind of bored, and they were having just some freaky deaky stuff. One room they were making sex movies. The next room they were watching the movies they just made, and they were playing dominoes, strip dominoes in one other room, and it was just crazy.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I went in there. Police officers in the house waiting to get off work so they can come back. They were in uniform, so they were on anyway. Just a crazy situation. So I remember playing dominoes, and they were taking shots if they lose. I'm like, okay, I won, so I don't have to take a shot. Well, if you get up from the table, you have to take a shot. I remember taking a shot. I had 3 years sober, and I could have just, no, dude, I'm not going to take it. But something in me, I think, wanted to use. I wouldn't have been there in the first place. So that night, went to a club. I was roofied. They robbed me.
Damn.
Yeah. And then my friend called my wife and said, "You need to come get him because he's been drinking." Right. So now that was the big time again where I needed to go and get some help. And so right after that, I think I once again got into another program. right? And so this particular time, it was a different situation. Friends that I had met at the church had a program, and it was a 6-month program, like out in, what did you say, Bay City or whatever?
Bay City, yeah.
But that way.
Yeah.
And it was like a big facility, like on a lake or whatever, and I decided to, how are we looking?
Oh, we're good. Good, man.
Okay.
This dude.
So we went out there, and then I went to talk to the guy who was over the program, and he was like, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get myself together so I can be a good dad to my son, and I can, make myself right for my wife. He says, first off, you don't need to do anything for them. You need to be doing this program for you. As far as your wife is concerned, I have the paperwork here. She's filed for divorce. That's probably over, and so you need to come to terms with that and how you are going to get better. Wreck me. I'm thinking and still trying to hold on to the idea that I can.
You're gonna fix a marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was over. So 6 months there. Then there was a program that was in town. Another 6 months that I did there, which was another intensive program. I got sick there. I had my gallbladder. I was in a lot of pain, so I went to the hospital. They said that I needed to take it out. They're giving me Demerol.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd never experienced that before, but I wasn't even in pain, and I was hitting that button.
Mm-hmm.
More Demerol, please. And they were giving me lots of Demerol, and so I remember telling myself, I might get sober and stay sober, but if I ever get my hands on some Demerol,
I'm going in.
I'm rolling with the Demerol. And I remember saying that to myself. And I remember going through that whole program. It was 6 months there, 6 months at the next facility, and then another 6 months at a third facility. So I stayed in treatment.
Year and a half.
And so I was divorced. And managed to get me a car to go through the steps to really learn how to start helping people and so forth. I had a good support group. I learned, how to tell it on myself, how the 10th, 11th, 12th step worked, but this was the problem. I'd done all the steps to 11, but, when it came to 12, I would help, the guy, you don't want any help, you stop calling me, you need to do this because you're not doing it. I'm done with helping out sponsees. So I'm like of the mindset, well, I got it. That's who I owed this to, and so you get yours, I got mine kind of deal. Anyway, from that situation with the 18 months, I went back to that church, St. John's. My wife's at the time, ex-wife, still went to the church, and she would be confronted by the people. Oh, we saw your husband. She's like, that's not my husband. I don't know why he's still, leading people on to believe that. But we're divorced. He needs to go on with his life. But she was living her life. And I was hell-bent on, this is going to be my wife again. Well, we started dating. Believe it or not. And from the treatment center, she saw that I was changed. We consequently remarried. God gave me another chance to make that thing right? So we remarried. By this time, I had several years. I that term or stretch, I had 9 years sober. So the first time I had 3.5 years, almost 4 years, and this time, second time was 9 years. In the 9 years, went back to school, started my own company.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
What kind of company?
The marketing.
Oh,
So I was good at sales, and so essentially, let me say this part. So, didn't have a education or high school education, so I wasn't very learned, but I did know how to talk to people, and I was ambitious, and I knew how to convince people to buy stuff from me, or since they like me, I convinced them to like you. And so, I worked for this firm who. I don't know if they sold advertisement or what, but I think that's what it was that we were selling, and it was $40,000 a year that I was making, that was a lot of money then, especially for a person without a degree. And I quit that job because I felt like they were not being fair because I was black. Yeah, it was jacked up how they did me. So I left. I went to another company where the guy says,
Check the dues.
guy said to me, listen, with this job, you can make potentially, and he shows me a check, and I'm like, $15,000. I'm like, what did you make that last month? He said, no, I made that last week. I said, so I'll do whatever it is that you're doing. And so I went on to try to sell electricity. That's what I did with that company. And from that, it grew into a position where I was the, I think they created a position for me, quality assurance manager. From the quality assurance manager, which we got shut down a couple of times from them not marketing properly. And so, I was detailed oriented. I knew how they explained it from corporate that they wanted us to run the company. And so I did exactly like they wanted it done. And once they saw that I was serious about doing it and the numbers that I had was able to produce, because I had a wife and kids to feed, then they allowed me to go and train the other offices to do it the same way. I came up with a manual to show them process and procedures of how to do it, right?
So you went from quality and assurance to training?
Yes.
That's awesome.
To management. And then I became the field manager and had like 65, 70 people. And then I made almost $20,000 in a week.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
That was
never.
crazy.
I don't think I've ever done it.
Yeah, it was a crazy amount of money. And I had my team, one team working on the road, one team working in the city, and then I would do training, and I was married to the job, right? Yeah. And so they saw that I grew too big. My manager was like, dude, he's making more money than all of us. So they started to break my team up. So they made managers out of the other managers. I'm like, well, what do I get out of it? Nothing. I'm like, well, they work for us. No, they don't. They were all contract employees. Technically, he worked with me. Anyway.
You 1099 them?
Yeah.
So making that kind of money that fast, what did that do to your ego?
Oh yeah, it was really messed up.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening is, God was everything to me at that initially, and then I became God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ego edging God out.
I became God, and so I ended up they put me on as the company-wide trainer. So I was traveling, living out of a suitcase, and I'm like, I can't do this. So I ended up coming back into Houston, quitting, and starting my own deal. That didn't work really well because of me eking God out, and I had an employee who boyfriend was beating her up. She really needed the money, but she couldn't work there, and I made her my secretary, and I knew I was physically attracted to her, and she me, and make a long story short,
engineering a situation.
I engineered it,
Yeah.
and she no longer was my secretary, but my sucketary. Yeah.
That's good. That's
Worst thing that could happen.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So now I have this.
That's called shitting in the water that you bathe
That's
in.
right. Yeah. So now I got this guilt and shame, and I'm walking around living with it. And I told her, look, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't cheat on my wife. I don't want to leave you for my wife. And so, everything just starts to go to crap.
Oh,
Right,
Because
yeah.
now my emotions are all thrown off.
You're not focused.
I'm not focused. I'm not leaving the office. I'm trying to figure out, how to stay in the office where she is more. And then when I go home, I'm sleeping next to my wife, knowing that I have cheated on her. Hardest thing for me to do. Anyway, so it made it easier for me to put myself in a position to continue with that behavior.
Yeah.
Our problems of our own making.
That's it.
Exactly.
They arise out of it. Ourselves and the alcohol as extreme examples of self-will
run riot.
I did it.
Yeah, me too.
Though our troubles our own making. So anyway, that was I ended up getting into a really bad situation. My wife came home and caught me in bed with some crackhead. Yeah. Let's just go cut to the chase.
Yeah.
And so what led up to that and how that happened, was crazy.
Was that one
in
of those
itself.
you're running down the room with your grabbing your pants and?
No, I didn't even know the crackhead was there. I mean, I had been sober by that time 9 years, and I woke up to a person blowing crack smoke into my mouth and saying, "Hold it."
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was my
God.
uncle. I bought the crackhead for him, and then they had made their way in my room and blew smoke in my mouth, and now I'm hold it, and I did, and now I'm exhaling crack smoke. So it was on.
Your cycle.
Yeah,
you're in the cycle.
I was ignited. Yeah, so I was back in the loop. My wife's living in another city with her job, and so I'm taking care of my 3 kids, going to 3 different schools, working at this 2 different jobs, and life is so busy. I'm trying to do too much. I'm starting to take ecstasy to keep me up so I can maintain this household. Anyway, that's what led to eventually the crackhead, and those bad decisions led me to that situation. My wife didn't want to deal with it anymore. It was a wrap. She wanted a divorce. I got on a plane, moved to Florida, and tried to get my life reestablished. Wonderful thing about the program, I did the 30-day program. A guy wanted to help me to stay, so I was able to stay in Florida for a little extra time. He helped to pay for it. I didn't have a job, and so I'm like, dude, I can't. There's no way for me to get around. He helped to buy me a car. He bought the car. Yeah.
Wow.
He didn't know me from Adam. We'd just gone to treatment together. But he bought me a car, and within a month, I gave him the money back for the car. But I was able to work in sales, and I was able to afford myself, certain stuff. And I went to school to become a broker.
Huh?
So I became a commodities broker, and I wasn't really a good commodities broker. I should
Did you go
say
for the
that.
full Series 7 or Series 3?
3, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I wasn't a very good commodities broker, but I did do it. And the main thing that I couldn't do and get my head around is the fact that fast money, fast women, fast life, and I was trying to get away from that whole thing. So I tried to do different stuff and to invest my money differently. So I tried to go into a business with a friend of mine. He was a tax attorney, and we ended up doing some home modifications, that kind of stuff. So I had a couple of businesses that went awry and eventually got into treatment. I had some halfway houses, some rehab, doing the whole thing, and it just, I was so bitter by that point, and stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up just a little bit. I was in the treatment center, fell down, broke my coccyx, and I had to get some drugs. Did I mention that?
No.
Oh, yeah. So I did that, and I found myself not long after.
Reignite, yeah.
Starting that. Well, I started something that I'd never done before.
Did it kickstart that phenomenon of craving again?
Yeah, it did kick in the phenomenon of craving. I used again, and I found myself the cycle starting all over again. I mean, I understood that if I started, I couldn't stop.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't realize how bad it would actually get. This time was worse. I'd never gotten this bad. IV drug use was the worst thing that could ever happen to me. My habit was extremely bad. I had a doctor who was giving me as many pills as I wanted. So I was getting 80 oxy. Well, I was getting a lot of drugs. I need to go into drug log. I was getting a shit ton of drugs. I could sell the drugs to pay for me to stay someplace, and then I was eating more Tic Tacs than a little bit, right? And so I was doing all that and trying to still have a foot in recovery to try to help out with, feeling like I'm not destroying myself.
Yeah.
So you're in active. You're in active addiction, but you're still in the business of recovery. Yeah.
When did you get to the solution part?
Well, when I moved from there, my daughter helped me. I'm getting a ticket so I can come back to Houston. My son was sent from Seattle with his mom to Houston, and so I was coming back to take care of my son. And I was in no condition to do that the way I was. So I flew into San Antonio with maybe 8 or 9 pills left. I had to eat them all at one time because that's how bad of a habit I had. And I had to get the trash can, pull it up, with the biting the pillow and some toilet paper.
Yeah.
Lock the door and just sweat it out, And so I had to do that, and for 3 days, and then I took the ride to Houston in order to try to be a dad for my son, trying to completely leave that whole life behind me, and so it didn't come right away. I mean, there was a lot of things that happened. My dad got sick. He got cancer and was prescribed those same exact drugs. I ended up taking my dad's medication, and it was just a worse problem. I ended up getting off of that, but my son was there in that whole process, and eventually we started to do drugs together. And so I had some coke, and this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I had some coke, and he had asked me for some the night before. I still had some of the coke left, and the next morning he asked, "Dad, do you have that coke left?" And it just broke my heart, And I remember the first time I ever smoked crack was with my dad, and now my son is, asking me for drugs or coke. And I said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to allow this cycle to continue. So
it was a turning point for you.
It was a turning point. So that was it. I had to, at that point, tell my son, listen, I'm sorry, but I can't stay in this toxic situation, and so I'm going to have to leave. You can stay with your grandmother because I'm not helping. And I can show you what sobriety looks like, but I can't show you in this mess. Yeah. So I stepped away. I left it. I had to do the sweating it out on a friend's couch. He let me stay there. I got a job. I was able to get me a vehicle. And to get the job, I had to stop smoking. So now I'm not smoking. I'm not drinking. I'm not using any drugs. And so before I knew it, it was 6 months, and then it was a year, and then I met which now is my wife, and we started doing things together, and I got married, and now I'm a couple of years, about a year and a half into sobriety, and I'm like, or sobriety. I said, if I don't get into recovery, I'm going to find myself, it's my history to go back and do the same things again. I've done it time and time again. So this time, I need to make sure that I get into recovery. So I went to church. There was a guy there. What's this place called? Mercy Street.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cecilia, if you're home watching.
Cecilia.
Yeah.
So a guy named Cliff from Mercy Street became my sponsor, and he took me through the steps. And we went through one step a week. And it took a little longer than 12 weeks for me because I got kind of caught up on 5. And so, and 9. Just didn't want to let go of some of those resentments, And so I was still doing some resentments, even here recently. Some stuff that I remembered. I'm like, I need to make amends for. I had some resentments. I had to make amends for those things that I had done to people. And so went through that, and then I remember going to a meeting. I was going to meetings every day, and I went to a meeting, and it used to be the men's center, but now they call it the Rae Center.
Oh yeah. Midtown.
Yeah, Midtown. And there's a guy who's in the room. He just came in. He's kind of talking fast and all this kind of stuff, but he had a spot on message, and I remembered it quickened my spirit to how recovery looks, and it was just not a lot of recovery in that room, but it's the Rae Center. I knew that, but you think that the old timers would come. And so after I listened to him after the meeting, I engaged him. I said, listen, man, what are you doing? I'd like to talk to you. So I'm going to another meeting. I'm like, can I go? He said, sure. So I followed him to the next meeting. And then it was at another place off a lake. It was on the north side. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a treatment center. And he was doing a meeting there. And it was really good. And I was like, man, this is great. So we exchanged numbers, and we went and had dinner afterwards. Charlie C.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Charlie and I, we'd done some stuff together in the past. I did a lot of business with people I knew and know people who do business, and I figured we can do some stuff that will be good, outside of all of the crap that I'd done. And I figured, I really want to figure out how to use my experience and share my strength and give hope to those who are still suffering from this disease. And so
I want to ask you a couple questions. So when you went through the steps the first time, what was your experience like?
The first time?
Yeah.
It was life-changing. It was life-changing. I didn't understand that my life could, I didn't understand how these people who lived way back then could have lived my life. They were telling my story. I mean, just some parts I didn't come back from war, but I remember that applause, when I wanted that, like Bill got, and just the whole way that his mind worked. I truly have an alcoholic mind, and my thinking was broken, and it had to change. And the book taught me a new way to live, a new way to think. The very thing in my person that had been broken for so long was my thinking in my mind, and now I've learned how to change that. And it made it more about helping as opposed to me. It says, like you said, selfishness and self-centeredness. That was what caused the problem, and it was driven by fear.
Yep.
Out of a life of fear, and fear of rejection, fear of people not accepting me, fear of not adding up or amounting up to be, that perfect person. Because I'm afraid you might find out that I'm a scared little dude who I don't have all the answers all the time. And I've been put into positions where I'm supposed to seem like I know everything. And that was when I was putting myself in God's place. And there was a point where because of the program, I managed to get very humble.
Oh, yeah.
And to understand that that's where this thing works. And humility and love. They said 2 sins, 1 law.
Oh, yeah.
One sin is to cause someone else to stumble. I was sinning. The other sin is to cause yourself to stumble. And the one law, which is the law of love. And I want to be able to practice that on a daily basis. Today, before I knew that I was doing this show, I said, I'm going to purpose to help out another suffering addict. I wrote it down before I even got the call from you. And then I saw that, and I was like, you look at God.
Oh, yeah.
He brought that situation and made it happen in my life just like that. It became a reality because what I do on a daily basis is I wake up 2:30 and I read my big book.
Mm-hmm.
I go when I wake up at 2:30 I read my Bible. I pray, and then I read my Bible, and then I go to work, and then I read my big book from 81 to 88.
Oh, yeah.
And then I go from 62 to 63. 63. I need to know and be reminded of what I'm wrestling with.
Oh, yeah.
And then 63, I give it to God through the 3rd step prayer.
Exactly.
And then I do the 7th step prayer, and say, I understand I got some stuff that's broke. I want you to be able to fix it. Then I do the 11th step prayer, which is page 99 of the 12 and 12, which, is the prayer of
St. Francis
of Assisi. And then I go to page 164, which is, let me know. We don't all have all the answers. We're all trudging this road to happy destiny. And so, as we go along, we're going to learn more. You know, the big book is just a start. It just gets us started. You know, there's more stuff that happens after. It puts us in a game.
Right, page 112, the first 3 words.
112. What is it?
It says, read this book.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And so the thing that I hadn't really gotten the chance to work on is the 12th step.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's what I desperately want to do. And so the reason I engaged Charlie is because he works with others. Mm-hmm. And I want to see how to work with others. And so that I've had several sponsors this go around, so the past couple months, and I managed to take them through some of the steps, and they kind of backed off with the whole COVID and everything that's going on. And we have on Charlie Group, if you know, we have a check-in that we do every day.
What's that?
Yeah, it's like 25 people on that list, and you check in, you tell them, you know, what's going on with you, what you're doing, what service position you're holding, how many sponsors you have, that kind of deal. And so it keeps us accountable, and it gets me into the solution. So where, you know, I'm not messing off, you know, and I have to expose what's going on in my life and to try to stay in what's going on. We all have, we go through the steps, and we have meetings that we do just for our group. And on Sundays, we do a big check-in where everybody comes in that's in the group, and we check in, we talk about what's going on in our lives, and, you know, what steps we need, what help we need, and then we engage each other all through the week.
So you're using a messaging app as a group to, okay.
Yeah, so like
mobile meeting.
Yeah. So one guy is having a problem,
and you feel like it's effective.
Absolutely. He'll say, okay, I'm having this problem, and he'll put it on the group chat on WhatsApp, and then you'll have 5 or 6 people connecting with him, and then we'll call him offline to talk about what's going on. Well, let's go eat some lunch, or let's talk about the situation. And, well, this is what's happened to me, and, you know, maybe I can help with this problem with whatever the situation has been. You know, you had some people who feel like they want to use, and so they'll say that I'm just having a rough day, and then they would get. You have 24 people who call to encourage, or who engages that person when they say that, you know, I'm having some problem. And then Charlie is really good about making sure that we all check in with everybody. It's easy to not pick up that 2,000-pound phone.
Oh yeah.
Let's shoot a text and post a WhatsApp.
There you go.
Yeah.
And saying, look, I'm here for you, man. Hopefully you're having a great day. If you have any problems, please give me a call. And then the truth is, I've gotten some calls, but I've had to make more calls than I've received. But the good thing about it is, I've been able to connect with people, and we have now established relationship. So there's some trust.
Yeah.
And it's all about building bonds of trust. There's some parts of me that were broken because of some stuff that I saw in recovery, where it wasn't about the solution. There were people who used recovery to continue to hurt people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know,
I do.
13 stepping and just using it to collect
get their
money.
way, yeah.
And so
taking a vulnerable person and coming at him with a position of authority.
That's right.
And then,
right.
Yep.
The Clinton. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The slick Willie.
You pulled the Clinton out?
Yeah, you pulled the Clinton.
So, you know, what we're doing now, and what I've seen happen, is people who, you know, otherwise may have had a bad taste in their mouth about the program, now looking at it differently because they're seeing it actually work.
Yeah.
You know, it was because the program started to work in my life that I began to trust the program and trust the process, you know. And then the fellowship, which is one of the most awesome things. You know, we have conventions and different things where we engage each other. And I didn't know you, but, you know, we talked on the phone for maybe an hour the first time we talked.
The secret of this program is on the back of the coin: Unity Service Fellow Recovery. That's it.
That's it.
So you're talking about fellowship. You know, there's AA conferences, there's youth groups in AA. There's all kinds of different there's all kinds of different social venues in AA, but just on a personal level, you know, who do you keep around you? Your group of friends. Like, you know, I met this guy through my first sponsor, which he's now my sponsor, but I mean, he's more like a hangout buddy.
Is
So
your sponsor?
he
Oh,
is
cool.
my
On his sponsor.
How are you?
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, but that's what it's about for me. It's just having friends that I vibe with on the same level that are doing the same thing as me. And sometimes him and we're not necessarily talking about related things, but we're just hanging out together, like riding a skateboarders. He's watching me do dumb shit, like go down a hill on a skateboard. You know, it's So it's that kind of.
I like him. He does a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I have people. So I've been around the program for a long time. And I've developed and have relationships with people who have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So my best friend is 25 years. No, he's almost 30 years. I think Butch has. He does have 30 years. He has 30 years. Another friend who is like 35 years. Remember the guy who I went to the program with and told me where I stayed in the program for 18 months?
Yeah.
He passed away. He actually died sober with about 20 years. But his wife helped me to get my dad sober.
Oh, wow.
And my dad got like about 14 years sober. I drove him straight from the bus because he couldn't even ride the plane. They kicked him off to treatment. And she was the director of the treatment center that helped get his life sober. The craziest thing, I helped get him sober. And then a few years later, he helped get me sober.
Yeah, that's
The
cool.
very life that I saved wasn't necessarily his; it was
Yours.
my own.
Exactly.
Do you have your
one act of?
do you still do you have your dad with you now?
He passed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
He passed of cancer. Yeah, but you know that whole situation is a little tender because he decided that he wasn't gonna stay sober before he checked out, and I watched how his life deteriorated.
My dad did the same thing. My
Yeah.
dad relapsed, and within 4 months he was dead. He had drank himself to death. I as a matter of fact, I had to take him off life support.
One of my sponsors, I swear this guy was held together with spit and bubble gum. He had one leg, one eye, brain cancer, and he stayed sober throughout the entire thing.
Wow.
I would have just been like, first of all, I thought it was a Vietnam vet. He had one leg, and he tells me, you know, he had a Vietnam vet surgery. But turns out he lost his leg in a hot tub in Florida from folliculitis. So it was like, I was like,
Folliculitis.
yeah, infection of the skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah,
Follicle. So you see that?
yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've told people I got bit by a spider.
I know what that
An
is.
injection site and all.
It was a spider drug.
Yeah.
Spider drug.
I got water. I was so sick from the toilet
Oh, that's the third time I've heard that on the show.
in the back of the gas station. So like I wasn't gonna stick it right directly in the toilet bowl, so I put it in the back of the toilet bowl, sucked out the water, and
Got you a nice infection.
Mercer.
Mercer, ooh.
They were gonna cut my arm off. They said, "Sir, we cannot save your arm. We need you to sign this paper." I'm like, "This is the hand that I signed with."
By the way, he's talking about methicillin-resistant Staph aureus.
Yep. Yeah.
So
That's
MRSA.
Mercer, yeah.
Mercer.
And so it almost they were going to cut my arm off, and I prayed that they wouldn't have to. It was very painful. It took a long time. I had to pack this thing myself for them to save it. And I couldn't use those fingers. And they said I'd never be able to use it. Now I got full use of my hand. God has done some amazing stuff, from how I've treated my body, and there's consequences, to our actions, and I'm still paying for some of those consequences to this day. But the good thing is that I'm doing it sober.
Yes.
And I'm no longer intentionally hurting people.
I have one last question for you before you go.
Sure.
What is it like Where do you think you'd be if you didn't do your daily 11th step? Daily prayer and meditation to increase our conscious contact with God, only asking for the knowledge of His will and the power to carry that out. Because you get on your knees every day.
Every day.
My first sponsor told me to put my big book under the bed, so I had to get on it on my knees every morning.
So you could pull it out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
I wouldn't be married. I wouldn't have gone walking today with my granddaughter, who, you know, if we look at the world today through her eyes, she doesn't care about the air and not being of poor quality, and food that we're eating is crap full of GMOs and, you know, water.
The world, the truthful world as we know it.
That's right. She found a stick on the ground, which became a pen, and she began to write on the sidewalk, and she picked the little flowers and clovers, and she was putting them in her hair so she can be pretty. And dude, I was looking at life through her eyes, and it was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it makes you take a moment of pause and to see how many distractions and things that we've allowed to take us from the things that really matter.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able to enjoy that. I wouldn't have been able to spend that time had I not, if I don't do this.
The prayer and meditation
If I
allows
don't-
you to be in the present moment.
In the present moment, to be able
Exactly.
to look at those moments, to be able to not think about, you know, what stock is doing what and how I'm going to be able to make my next million. And, you know, I'm leaving at this point to dedicate my life to helping people. So, you know, I can't tell you how many class or people I've called to become a recovery coach, because that's, I think, a start where I want to do with my life now.
Yeah.
You know, it's not all about making money for me today. It's
Fuck
about
no.
making a difference. I don't want
you
to
love, and the money will come.
That's it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to make a difference and trust that God is going to take care of me, which He has done. I'm not one for a single meal. You remember the diabetes situation?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I haven't had medicine in almost 8 days.
That's good.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it's because I've been exercising. I've changed my diet.
You're conscious of what's going on with you. Yeah.
I've lost like 20, almost 30 pounds.
Yeah.
I've checked my levels before I left the house, 98.
So can I tell them about what?
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
This guy found out when they didn't know he was diabetic. Went to the hospital with a blood sugar over 900.
God!
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't quite 900. It was almost 800.
Yeah.
And my A1C was 12.
And so basically, you're in diabetic ketoacidosis,
Right.
which is
So I
life-threatening.
I was losing weight, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm using the restroom a lot, and I'm drinking a lot of water, and I couldn't see in
It's
front
called
of me.
polyuria, and makes
Right.
you really thirsty. And
Right.
yep, those are all signs.
And they gave me injections and metformin, and I was supposed to take this for a long time. And I started to. Now I wake up in the morning. I go walking 4 miles every morning, and then I do 4 miles in the evening. I'm probably not going to do it this evening.
Yeah.
But I already did 2 more miles when I walked with my granddaughter. So I did 6 miles today, and I'm not eating any carbs. In fact, I'm doing a Daniel fast where I'm only eating nuts, fruit, vegetables.
I'm fasting today. I've had coffee.
Oh, yeah. I have coffee.
Yeah, I'm fasting today.
I had Red Bull and coffee. I don't think it's fast, but I'm gonna eat everything.
Well, it makes you go fast.
Yes.
Red
Yeah.
Bull and coffee.
Yes.
Yeah, the coffee's kind of cool. Just plain black coffee when you're fasting, it just kind of pushes you through. It gets you through that hunger when you're starting to feel kind of puny.
Yes.
I wouldn't mind that, but because we're doing the Daniel thing, we're just allowed to drink,
Yeah, water.
no stimulants
Okay.
of caffeine or anything like that. So
Yeah, man. You're now is that incident. You're getting in touch with your body. You're kind of
yeah. I mean,
Isn't that a cool thing when you're like everything's clicking on all cylinders?
it's wonderful. Well, so I still have some stuff, some residual effects. I still have a little foggy memory type of stuff, and then it's getting better, and it's continuing to. I'm continuing to learn my body. So there's some stuff that's, I gotta get my testosterone up a little more, and certain foods that I need to add to my diet that'll help me to be able to normalize my life, at least to a new sense of normalcy. And I'm ready for the challenge. Let me just say that. and making sure that I do it with my family. And so my wife is supporting me, which is a wonderful thing, and we have peace at the house. We engage each other. We pray together. She supports me. She wanted to watch the show tonight. I didn't know I was going to go, so I told her, well, they pre-recorded.
Yeah, she'll be able to watch it. It's archived on our Facebook page. So
but is it live?
It's live. Yeah, we're live right now. But it stays on there. It stays up there. It's archived, and we have a YouTube channel, by the way, Houston Recovery Radio.
That's just for archiving all
of
our.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but she'll be able to go back on the Facebook page and watch it tonight. Yeah,
I can send you the link.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, very easy. So you guys can watch it together.
That would be great.
A couple more questions for you.
Sure.
What is your what kind of sobriety time are you currently sitting on now?
So, now this is the weird part. The day after my dad passed, I remember stopping everything, and so I made that my sobriety day. Mm-hmm. And then I remembered that when Harvey came, I'm like, okay, I'm dying because the water was way up on the back of the house, and so there was alcohol in the house. I took a drink. I didn't drink anymore. I felt bad about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna have another cocktail, but I did drink, and so I had to remind myself. So I changed my sobriety date. Mm-hmm. So now my new sobriety date is 8/26/17.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm on the 26th of August, I'll have 3 years.
Nice. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
So what kind of hobbies? I love to ask people about their hobbies, man. I collect hobbies. That's my hobby. My hobby's collecting hobbies.
So I would love to say I am like the bomb diggity fisherman, but I think I'm okay.
I've seen some of your. Yeah, I've seen some of your. Yeah.
I think I'm all right.
Okay.
So the good thing is this year they're going to extend the snapper season. I'm going to go out and give me a couple. Well, I got 2 last year. I got to show you pictures. 2 nice ones. And so I think it's going to be 2 months of snapper and then the tuna season. So that's going out on the deep sea boat. So I love that. And I have a small boat where I haven't even put it in the water. I bought it from a friend. But I want to be able to catch some like bass and stuff like that. That's what that's for. And to be able to go in the...
But you got a little John boat, or...
Yeah.
This is the whaler?
Yeah.
No, it's a little bigger.
Okay.
It's just... it says it's 16 foot, but I think it's more like 14 foot.
Okay.
It's more like a 14 foot, and I have an 18 horsepower motor.
Yeah.
You know?
Steer it from the back with a little rudder handle. Yeah.
Is it a bass boat?
No, it's just like a little flat bottom boat.
Yeah, it's
like
aluminum.
No.
I know what you're talking about.
Dude, Boston whalers are like big ships.
Yeah,
man.
well, no.
It's a nice
ocean
little...
going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boston Whale is a nice boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an ocean going sea fishing vessel.
Yeah, this is...
Yeah, this is a little running down the bayou boat. Yeah, man.
Okay.
This is out on the
Catch
lake.
some alligator guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just this is straight up fishing boat right there. Yeah.
All about the business. So, I like to fish, but I don't like to hunt, but I get the fishing and hunting license kind of thing together. Yeah. My friend likes to hunt.
I want to learn how to bow hunt, man. That's on my to-do list at some point. Yeah, I want to learn how to bow hunt.
Fish or bow hunt?
Bow hunt. Just bow hunt. Yeah.
Dude, it's just so expensive. My friend has he bought 3 heads. It was like $75.
Yeah, I mean it's just
back if you get something.
Like it's just like any hobby.
Bent up though.
It's like any hobby, man. That shit can get so expensive. You got guys buying the infrared cameras for their feeders and shit.
That's right.
I just want to learn how to go out there, be proficient with a bow and arrow, learn how to stalk an animal, and just do some basic human skills. You know,
And then
I think.
dress it yourself.
Yeah,
and all that kind of stuff?
Like that, let the butcher make the sausage.
You would do it?
No, I'd let the butcher make the sausage.
Shit, no, I remember I used to go hunting with my papaw when I was growing up. We had a deer lease, and we dressed all our own deer. You know, we right there as soon as we shot it, we walked down to it and we gut it right there in the field.
Yeah, you got to. It's lighter.
Uh-huh. Yep.
You're carrying all that stuff back with you.
Yep, and then we'd have to carry the carcass up to the truck, and then we'd take the pickup truck back up to camp, and then from there it would go to the process. Actually, we'd cut. He would make a lot of the cuts of meat, right? I mean, we do everything right there.
Right.
He'd put it in the
The
butcher
back
paper,
strips.
yeah, with the wax paper, yeah, man. The hair's still on it and shit, yeah.
I've visited. I mean, I've done there. I've been in the experience, but the whole killing something and then eating, it's just not really my bag. But if I have to do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
But I can. I mean, I don't know why it feel like that with a animal, but if it's a fish,
Yeah.
I'll catch him and gut it right then and finish
done.
with him, and he's still flapping. So I don't know, for whatever reason, I think it's easier for me with a fish than with
A bigger animal.
Yeah,
that's understandable. Yeah.
But yeah, I love to fish. Golf game's kind of horrible.
Golf, I have yet to do. I'm 43 and I have yet to try golf.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
No golf.
No golf.
I play golf.
You good?
Shit, bro.
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely. I wouldn't even
Love
say.
that.
I'm handicapped. Not have a handicap.
I'm not close to trying it, man. I'll try anything twice. Like, dude, and I'm not afraid to suck at it. I'm totally cool.
I even frisbee golf.
Yeah. Get it.
Well, I'm better at frisbee golf than regular golf. So
Okay.
What you know about that disc golf, Omar?
I know lots.
Man.
I know lots. I can tomahawk it. I'm good.
Oh,
What are we on time? Are we on time there, Daniel?
y'all are over an hour. It's all
Yeah.
good though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if y'all want to wrap it up, y'all guys can.
I'm not.
Yeah.
You got anything? Any shout outs you want to do? Anybody you want to say hi to? Your wife? Your whoever? This is your time to do it, man. There they are, right there. Anybody? Anything? Any last messages? I mean, anything profound you want to leave with anybody?
You know, I did a lot of reading in my day and try to, figure out some kind of way to enhance my mind to be able to learn how to relax my mind, to become a better person and so forth. And a lot of reading different types of books and, doing different things to do that. One person who really knows how to connect with me and who is doing a lot of that stuff for me and my family is my pastor, Christian Washington, over at UR Heights, Upper Room Heights,
Okay.
which is a subsidiary of Chapelwood, just like Mercy Street.
Okay.
And doing some major things in the community, and he is showing us how to really love people. A good friend of mine, Keenan Williams, which it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have Keenan on the show.
Okay.
He is-
We'll take his information.
He's an ex-drug addict, felon, who has gotten out of prison, completely changed his life around. He said that he remembered he had to make a choice. Either he's going to be a product of the system or and work on somebody's job or create jobs. And he decided to do the creating jobs. And at this point, I think...
So he's a business owner now.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Business owner, several businesses, and the next dope fiend. Yeah, now that's what he called himself, a dope fiend. He lived on the streets for years. Now Keenan is doing some amazing things. He wrote a book. He's a motivational speaker.
Yeah, I want to hear from this guy. I already know. Yeah. So
He
Keenan, wherever you're at,
Yeah.
I want to hear from you.
You'd be amazed.
Cool.
Dude's a good guy. He's my best friend. He's my best man at my wedding.
Oh,
And
awesome.
he keeps me focused.
Good.
Keeps me centered and grounded. Yeah.
All right then.
He, Butch, another guy who keeps me in the solution and helps a lot of people. I mean, pours into a lot of folks. So, I mean, I've made some really good connections, talked to some very good people. There are a lot of folks who are who influence my life in so many ways, but I don't think I could thank them all. But I think if I can say anything, it's that I'm truly humbled and grateful for the opportunity of sharing some of my life, with you guys.
Yeah, man. I
and these
appreciate
guys.
it.
Yeah, and hopes that someone won't make the same mistakes, get filled with ego and thinking success is what's going to make them, fulfilled or whole. I've never been more whole in my life then applying these steps, and like now, knowing how, what I'm doing is not only establishing good foundation for my children because they're watching my life and seeing how I'm progressing. Oh, by the way, did I mention that son that I gave coke to and told that I can't stay here with you? He himself went to treatment. We sent him to treatment in Florida. He got sober, and he's still sober. So he's almost got a year and a half.
Well, nice.
Himself, yeah, and he's doing well. And it wouldn't be. It was mainly because he saw that it could happen, and that it happened through the application of this program. I talked to him before saying that I really feel that there was some hurt from the program, and I had to re-engage him in this and let him know that I was speaking from a position of pain and hurt, and the only thing, I think I talked to you about this, that has saved my life, other than my relationship with God, and set me on a firm foundation and given me some direction in my life, which is this book, which leads you directly back to God. I mean, the Oxford group and the Washingtonians.
Yeah, that's where that came from.
Yeah.
That prayer group in the 1920s.
Well, I'd like to give a shout out to our guest Obadiah, and your sobriety date is August 26, 2017. Congratulations on that.
Thanks, man.
And thank you for tuning in to Houston Recovery Radio. We have another guest on Monday at 8 p.m. We are struggling to find the right equipment for our audio production side of things. If any of y'all want to donate equipment to Houston Recovery Radio, please give us a shout out via Facebook or Twitter. We have a GoFundMe page. Anything helps, even if it's like $5. The money we raise will help give us more. Will give more and more back to the community. This is also entry-level sponsorships for people or companies that want to help as well. Thank you for the support and well wishes through the process. Without this community, we wouldn't be able to do this. That's all. See you on the next one.
Cool, guys. Yeah. Just donate.
Yes.
Get a hold of us. We could use anything. Donate equipment, money. We'd appreciate it. And
All this is out of our pocket.
yeah, all this is out of our pocket. We're doing this
Everything.
on our own. Seriously, we're making everything work every day. I mean, we're just schmucks on a truck. You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
all right.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in.
See you next time, Freekos.